You lot asked for it and you're getting it. We're doing a bit of a day in the life of what I get up to in the shop, how the shop does, all the rest of it. And yeah, it's going to be a good one. So stick around because we're going to get involved and it's going to be good. So it's just gone 11 o'clock, it's about 10 past 11. Shop's been opened up, we open up at 11. 11 till 6 every day. We just went from 3 days a week to 5 days a week in terms of when we're open. We were open 3 days, like I say, but that was over the winter period where it was a lot quieter, less people about. So we've decided to open up 2 more days a week now. We're now open Tuesday all the way through to Saturday, 11 till 6, which is obviously awesome because it gives us a bigger chance of doing more business. It's better for the customer. They get to pick and choose when they come in. They don't have to sort of make sure we're open sort of thing. They know we will be here. But let's get on to what we actually do in the shop on a day-by-day basis. First little job for the day is adjusting our opening times board to go on the window. Nothing crazy, just needs to be done. One of those little jobs that needs to be done and banged out straight away. There it is in all its glory. Just need to change these two now and we're done. We obviously have an Instagram and a Facebook and all the rest of it for the shop, and I make sure to do 2 posts every day we are open, just to bring awareness to the shop, show them we're open, showing if anything's changed in the shop, new stock, all the rest of it. So next up after this, I'll be onto Instagram and I'll be doing 2 posts. Well, 1 post and I'll prepare another one to go out later on in the day. And I obviously put these posts onto our story just to bring more eyeballs, really, nothing crazy. Sometimes I go on my personal account and I share it onto there as well, just to get a few more eyeballs. It's a low-hanging fruit. You've got to promote. As a small business, you have to promote where you can for free. It's one of those things. You don't want to shove it down people's throat, but you know, you do have to get your name out there. A great tool I use to create these little short videos for my things like Instagram, TikTok, little showcases of the shop is an app called CapCut. It's actually pretty good. You've probably seen it about. It's actually really good. It edits it for you with AI. Basically, you just upload your videos and it edits it. Well, for example, this one I just did, it literally took me 2 seconds. I just took the videos off my phone that I already had and chucked them into this app, and this is what it created. As you can see, it's amazing, really. It took me 2 minutes to create that, and it's something a little bit unique, a little bit eye-catching, and it'll do to promote to the shop on our Instagram. If you have any reason to create a video or showcase anything, try and use CapCut because it saves a lot of time. After that's all posted, I come out the back of the shop and I list stuff on eBay. This is my little setup. Got my little backboard there, and all my stock that needs to be listed is dotted about. Most of it's on the floor. It's not actually on the floor. It's on a little wooden pallet, but yeah, I just come out here, I smash through as much as I can. I try and hit the goal of 15 listings per day, and then anything other than that goes in my drafts and I save it as a little backup. But yeah, that's the main gist of it. Just finished up the majority of the eBay stuff side of the day. Now let's get into the nitty gritty bit about the shop. The shop is always a difficult one to judge for us, really. It's hit and miss some days. Some days we'll do upwards of 150 quid. Sometimes we'll struggle to do a fiver. The reason why it's so inconsistent is because we're a little bit outside of town. For reference, we're about a mile outside of town. Now, the main reason for this is value for money in terms of rent. So we pay about 1/3 of the rent you would in town for a building twice the size as you'd get in town, essentially. So we're getting a good deal on the rent. But that comes with cons, obviously, being outside of town. You get less foot traffic, all these sorts of things. So we do rely on things like our eBay and our social medias to get our name out there. But we're a cool shop and people do travel to come and see us especially, and we do get a bit of traffic as it is a busy road that we are on. I'd say about 80% of our revenue and our profits come from eBay. I feel like this is pretty natural, especially in this day and age where most things are online, most people are online. And of course on eBay you're selling to the world, not just our small town, so it's a little bit unfair to compare the two. So obviously eBay is where the growth is, and that's where I focus majority of my time. Like I say, we've just opened the shop now 5 days a week instead of what it was free, which is obviously going to help bring in more customers, more revenue, and all these fun things. So that should help. But the thing is with the shop, I do not bank on the shop. I pretend the shop doesn't exist and I try and make a living just from the eBay stuff. I feel like that's the best way to go about it, solely just because of how inconsistent the shop can be at times. As the weather's getting better, the customers are venturing out, people are venturing out in general, so there's more people about, more people are likely to leave the house essentially and come shopping. Another struggle we're obviously having is nobody's got any money at the minute, and that's around the board. You know, there's not much surplus income at all for anyone at the minute, so nobody's really spending money on clothes, which is a bit tough, but we're doing all right. We are surviving. We're doing enough from the shop to pay our rent, and then we'd make the profits on eBay and that sort of thing. The rent for the shop is covered by the shop and sales in the shop, and then anything that we sell on eBay is just a bonus that goes back into the business or into my bank account. I do try and take as little out as possible and spend as little anyway. I'm not someone who wants for a lot anyway, so that's easy enough for me to do. I obviously look for different ways to make money all the time. So the shop is just solely vintage clothing, but on our eBay we sell everything from toys, clothes. I've been through it all before, but we sell all sorts from that I pick up from car boot sales and charity shops. It's unrelated to the shop, so it doesn't matter what I sell on there particularly. For example, I am trying to set up other revenue streams. So one example of this is me trying to get into Facebook, selling on Facebook. Now, Facebook is an absolute nightmare to sell on. I know from personal experience trying to sell my own stuff on there, people would always undercut you, trying to get a bargain basically, which I don't blame them. I'm one of them people on Facebook who tries to get a bargain. So I really do not hold it against anyone, but it is frustrating. The plan is I'm going to buy stuff from suppliers, things like everyday needs, so things like Tupperware boxes, clothes rails, all these sort of things, storage boxes, all this sort of stuff, and just try and sell it on eBay slowly. Buy a couple in and just make £5–10 a piece, and it's just going to be a nice little ticker in the background. I'm looking all the time for different things and different ways to make a bit of cash. And I think this is going to be a nice consistent way of doing that. The reason why I like this idea is I can list up, say, a clothing rail, and I can buy in 2, sell them, and if it works I can go again, and I don't have to keep relisting stuff. Like on eBay, you go to a car boot sale, you pick up loads of stuff, you make profit, but every time you sell something you have to relist something to then sell something again. But with this method it's not quite like that. You only list one thing and then it's a constant sale through, right? Instead of it being 1 listing, 1 sale, it can be 1 listing, 10 sales, which is a lot more efficient and a great way to grow a business. I'm obviously also messing around with things like social media with my YouTube, and I also have a TikTok, which eventually I can monetize and earn a little bit of money. I'm not expecting it to like make or break me, but it's just nice to have that option there to monetize eventually. I also can't wait for this, like getting monetized on a YouTube channel or on a TikTok. I think it's gonna be so cool to earn money just from uploading YouTube videos. I think that's awesome. That's enough of that. Let's talk about where I actually find my products for the shop, so the vintage clothing side of stuff. Now there's 3 main ways I actually source products. The main way at the minute is through Vinted. Vinted is a great app. It's like eBay, but it's for stuff selling, like it's for people selling their old clothes other than businesses selling. You're not allowed to be on there if you're a business. People do, because I've done it myself, but you're not supposed to. So things are usually cheaper, which is obviously awesome. I can buy them cheaper and sell them at a higher rate. This is a great way of keeping like overheads low and keeping track, and hand picking your stock is a great way of doing that. For example, if I sell a pair of jeans, I can go onto Vinted once the customer leaves and literally buy another pair of jeans, and that way my stock stays consistent and I don't have to buy in bulk. Talking of buying in bulk, that is another way we source our products. There are countless websites out there, wholesalers, vintage clothes wholesalers. You can buy pre-loved clothing off them. You buy the kilo or buy the piece. There's loads of different ways you can do it. They're in abundance. The main one I've used is this, Swede Vintage. It's a great little website. It's the cheapest and most consistent one I have found. I've slowed down using it recently though, just to keep those overheads low, as you do have to buy about 30 items minimum at a time, so it does add up. Also, buying in bulk, you have no idea what you're going to get. It is just pot luck, and sometimes you do get some crap, which I have done in the past, and it's a nightmare. The third and final way is charity shops / car boot sales. This is the best way of sourcing any product for eBay or a shop or anything, in my opinion. The prices you get stuff at is ridiculous. The other day I got a Dickies work coat for a £5 and I sold it for 45 quid cash the next day, which is so awesome. Got it from a charity shop. I did make a video on that, I did go through that, but that's just an example of one thing you can get. You can find finds like this on Vinted as well, which is why I really like it, but instead of a £5 it would probably be about 15–20 quid, which is obviously still great profit, but you are having to invest a little bit more. So I'd highly recommend anyone trying to source to resell car boots and charity shops, most importantly car boots, because that's where you used to get stuff for silly cheap. I'll show you another example of a great find. I bought these for £7 and I've got them in the shop for 45, and I have no doubt in mind that they will sell for that. It is these Dickies dungarees, 45 quid. Like I say, absolutely no doubt in my mind that they will sell for 45 quid eventually. It just takes the right customer. The reason I started a shop is actually quite funny. It's a complete accident. So I was doing my eBay stuff before all of this, and I was selling out of my garage. And of course, eventually I outgrew it and ran out of space. In hindsight, I didn't. I was just being messy. I could have made more out of that space. But anyway, I was on a bit of a hunt for some sort of storage unit or office space or somewhere where I could store my eBay stuff, and I found this place. And it was only a couple hundred extra quid a month, and of course it's got a great shop front, so I thought, fuck it, let's go for it. To begin with, we were planning on doing a coffee shop / clothing shop, and I was going to join it on my sister who actually runs a horsebox coffee shop, and we were going to sort of merge the two into one shop, which would have been really cool, but in the end that fell through and she didn't go for it. Never mind. So I went for it anyway, and I set up a clothing shop. So I kind of fell into it by accident. But yeah, here we are about 7 months later, and we're doing great. Still alive, still surviving. There's been some months where it's been touch and go, But we are pushing through and we're stronger now than ever. And in a couple months, I have no doubt that we'll be smashing it and hitting every target we try and hit. So many lessons I've learned and so many mistakes I've made that have nearly crashed the business and made it burn. But we're making progress, we're learning from our mistakes and we won't make them again. 2 mistakes that stand out the most is buying in bulk and getting overexcited. And number 2 is an eBay mistake that I did make a video about, and you can go and watch that on the channel. The eBay mistake was quite funny and I really did drop the ball on that one. But the mistake about the bulk buying was actually a big issue. Every time I get money, I would try and spend it on buying bulk. I really did fall into the trap of reinvesting way too much money and risking way too much money. Because like I say, with the bulk stuff, it is really expensive and it's not all sellable. So sometimes it can be razor thin, cutting lines to actually make a profit out of some of that stuff. But we live and we learn. We won't be doing that again. I will buy bulk in the future again, but only as and when it fits. And we've switched our main sourcing from buying bulk to buying on vintage, which is much better, more consistent. And of course, we get to hand pick every product and pick what's in the shop, which is a much better and efficient way of doing it. One thing we did try and do that didn't really work was like flea markets and events. It didn't really work out for us. We've done a couple now. We've done 3, so we did a Christmas event, we did a flea market in some sort of farmer town near us, which probably wasn't the best one to go to, and we did a vintage event, which we did the best at. So the Christmas market, I believe we did about 40 quid on the day, but we made a customer and they come back into the store at a later date and ended up spending about 250 quid with us. So that one was definitely worth it. The second one was the flea market, and I did make a video on that again. It is this one. It is on the channel. You can more than welcome to go and check that out. We made about 20 quid. It was 20 quid to set up and it was about 15 minutes away. It was an absolute nightmare basically. We lost money on it, but it is what it is. You live and you learn. Even though I say we live and we learn, we didn't, because we later did another one. We did a vintage fair, which was a much better option. And I believe we did about 120 quid in sales on that one, which is obviously great and totally worth it. And obviously we handed out a lot of cards and this sort of stuff. So that one was definitely worth it as well. The trouble with these is they are really hit and miss. Like sometimes they're worth it and sometimes they're just not. In my opinion, they have to be hand-picked and you can't just go to any event. They have to be to do with the product that you are selling. So we sell vintage clothing. Going to a vintage fair is obviously a great idea. Not only do you sell stuff there, it's great to hand out cards and get new customers that way. They might not buy anything on the day, but they do, if they love your stall, they will eventually rather look you up on things like Instagram and Facebook, or maybe even come in store one day. So it's worth it that way. So we've been open for about 7 months. I've learned so much. I'm feeling pretty proud of myself. Yes, there's been points where I've sort of wanted to quit and give up, but that's natural. It's difficult running a business, especially with no experience at all, not even in this sort of industry at all. It's just completely out of the blue. So I had a lot to learn and I have done it eventually. I'm not saying I know everything, I'm far from that, but I feel like I know enough now to grow this business out over the next year or 2. I feel like slowly I'll learn more and then eventually I'll obviously earn more. Learning is earning, obviously. I am really working on just getting as good at the little things as possible, the day-by-day tasks. Because if you smash out the day tasks, the bigger picture does eventually bloom and it works out that way. I used to get caught up on trying to think of the big picture all the time, thinking in a year's time, all the rest of it. But now I'm just day by day, do what you can every day and let the sort of progress happen naturally. I really hope this helped clear up a lot of the questions you guys did have. I did have, like I said, I did have quite a lot of requests on the shop and wanting to know a little bit more about the shop, so hopefully this helped. If you have any more questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. I will answer them in the next video or in the description, or both. I will be sure to answer those questions one way or another, so make sure you're doing that. Make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe. Until next time, take care guys.